Hi, this is Burlington Daily Houses, and my name is Darlene Dara from Century 21 Dreams, and I'm your host. Today is Tuesday, April 18th. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter. I ended up taking off Easter Monday. The kids weren't in school, so I'm back full force today and filming. We have a lot of new listings, 34 in Oakville and about 12 in Burlington. And we're starting to see some trends. The market is starting to slow down. I'm not going to lie, but it still is quite healthy for sellers. We're not seeing quite as many massive multiple offers, but many still, depending on the price, are selling over less. So it's really a variety and a mixed bag right now. We are seeing some price reduce, and we are seeing some that actually took the strategy of really underpricing, not a natural market value, actually really then going for a price increase really to the price that they were thinking originally. So sorry, my nose is a little itchy. So having said that, really if you're thinking of selling sooner rather than later would be better, which is what we're starting to see. In Toronto, we saw around a 62% increase in listings over the last couple of weeks as a lot of people are starting to cash out. So there is a lot of government talk. So instead of going over the listings today, I'm going to provide a link to all of these listings on the respective sites. I thought I would talk about some of the measures that the government is starting to talk about cooling the market, some of the pros and the cons sort of quickly. So really it's about affordability. The prices percentage-wise have gone up so much, they're saying in Toronto, but let's face it, in Oakville and Burlington, we know they've gone up pretty well equal. So they're starting to talk about trying to look at speculation in particular. So what is that? Foreign investment. So they're talking about possibly implementing sort of a tax like they did in Vancouver. That had a temporary yet devastating effect for a variety of reasons. They are also talking about a vacant tax. So if particularly foreigners buy and leave the house vacant, they're thinking of taxing it if it's more than 6 months that it's vacant. There's also talk about capital gains. So if people who are just flipping properties, really increasing the amount that they're going to be taxed both on the capital gains portion or maybe pulling it into income as well. Not a tax expert, but that might slow things down. And also on the, I'm trying to think if there was something else, on the rental side, they're talking about possibly rent controls for newer buildings. And all of these have, and also possibly some kind of, first-time buyer, either rebate or something so that first-time buyers can get into the market. Oh, and also the flipping on assignments, which is often with new builds like condos and new homes, where people are selling in some cases repeatedly, although we're saying we're not really seeing that so much in Ontario. They might be repeatedly selling these, quote, sort of purchase contracts many times before they close. We typically don't see that. We're seeing if they are being sold, they're being sold once. And a lot of builders are actually putting that in the offer, that either there's a penalty or you're allowed to do it once. So we're not seeing the same kind of speculation, I don't believe, as was out in BC. So what are some of the pros and cons quickly, because I don't want the video to be too long. But okay, so the vacant property tax, let's do that one. That one actually I am in favor of. So no neighborhood wants houses to have sort of these dark, what we often call dark houses, which is when foreigners in particular, but not always, have bought homes and just leave them vacant. It's really to dump money into the country, and that's not good for any community. The houses aren't often kept up. They can be vandalized, and also you want people in the community that are paying taxes and that are part of the community really contributing. Having said that, if you just slap on a tax, we have what happened out west, which was really then really unsavory characters were allowed to rent because then sometimes they don't care, which really having a bad neighbor is a bad thing too. So that's sort of the pro and the con of that. The 15% out west was had a horrendous effect initially because it actually allowed, because they didn't do it retroactive, it was immediate. A lot of sales that had happened but hadn't yet closed suddenly had this 15%, and many people walked from their deals, which had a cascading effect of a lot of other deals falling apart. Also on new builds you could buy, and it could be several years out, and suddenly you have this new unexpected tax. So they started to pull back some of that, where if it was the new builds, they weren't going to tax. And also on foreigners, if they were also either work permit, or they were here on student permit, like they were really living here and wanted housing, they actually rebated the tax or just canceled it. So even the government sort of thought, wisely of their decision, because the market actually tanked about 45%. It's now going back up to sort of a similar level in less than, I don't know, 8 or 9 months. So it didn't have a long-term effect, but it had a devastating effect because it really was a tax that just got slapped on from public opinion. So really, if they're thinking about something like that, really Ontario needs to be very cautious that they don't implement it in the same way that BC did. And then, the rent controls, again, the newer buildings, they're talking about possibly maybe limiting it to 10% as opposed to, we're hearing stories that, landlords are suddenly increasing 50%. That seems pretty outrageous. But putting rent controls to a lot of builders who were in the market of doing rental builds are actually saying that's what's actually devastated over the last many decades, the rent controls, because there's no incentive for builders to build rental properties. Now the stats are starting to make it more attractive, and there are some that are apparently coming down the pipe. But if this kind of uncertainty happens, they could actually end up making them into condos. So again, you have to be very, very careful. I'd love to hear what you're thinking, and it will be interesting. They're meeting today to talk about it, and it's supposed to come into the budget, possibly some kind of relief before the month end. So it will be quite interesting to see the effect that it has. Hopefully they will do something gentle if they're going to, and they actually talk to the experts and listen to the experts. A lot are saying don't do anything because the market is already starting to naturally cool. And let's face it, our homes, particularly our principal residence, is really the only way that we have tax relief as Canadians. So hopefully they'll be very gentle in the way that they do things. So take care, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.